Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Snackbox. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you all are having a great day. Guys, the first faction down, Shadowkin Crypt. I cleared all the conditions, 63 stars. And yeah, this is probably one of the easier factions to clear. And Faction Wars hard, if not the easiest one. And the reason for that is simply that we, or everybody, can get Lady Mikage at some point, and this makes it a lot easier than the other factions because Lady Mikage is not only a mythical champion, it's also a champion that can stun lock the waves, also buff strip, ally attack. So diverse, this champion really can do it all. You can deal more damage with this champion and also control the waves, so that made it a lot easier. So yeah, I think a lot of people will clear this crypt first before the other crypts. As you can see here, I also got some good progression here from in the Sylvan Watchers. The Barbarians, Armance makes this also pretty easy. Armance here has kind of a similar function as Mikage in the Shadowkin Crypt. Then on the Undead Hordes, we have Fabian. So I think you get the point. I think you can see where I'm getting at. All the factions where you have an really strong lockout champion like Mikage, Armance, Fabian, those factions are the ones where me personally am progressing pretty fast, and all the other ones are kind of like the ones that I'm struggling with. The Skinwalker's Crypt is also kind of easy because of Marius. Once you got Marius, the Skinwalker Crypt will be easier to complete. But it's I missed a couple of conditions there, and I didn't want to try over and over again for hours to complete them. But yeah, as you can see, Sylvan Watchers, Shadowkins, Barbarians, and Undead Hordes are my top factions at the moment. My weakest ones are probably the Dark Elves, the Ogrins for sure. This is probably the weakest one. Then I think it's between the Lizardmen and the Dark Elf Crypt, or maybe the Orcs as well. So Lizardmen, Orcs, High Elf, and Dark Elf are probably the worst ones for me. All the other ones are kind of okay, and Ogryn is by far the worst. So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at the moment. Now let me show you the last 3 stages of the Shadowkin Crypt. Maybe it will help some of you guys. Alright, so here we go. Here is stage 19. So I cleared stage 19, 20, and 21 today. In this stage, we had to defeat 3 or more enemies while they are under 10 debuffs. And to be honest, this was probably the hardest one for me today to do. To get 10 debuffs for me on the Shadowkin was actually pretty hard. So I got Shuzan with a decreased speed. I brought Jingwon. I think without Jingwon, this might be actually very hard to do. So Jingwon has block active skills, block buffs, decrease accuracy, decrease crit damage, and he also can stun on the A1. We have the stun from Lady Mikage, the decrease attack from Harima, the provoke, the freeze from Ninja, HP burn, and decrease defense on Ninja. So yeah, I did have 10 debuffs in total, but the problem really is that I have to place, several control debuffs at the same time to reach the maximum amount of debuffs, which is 10, and that was quite hard to do. So I failed a lot of times, and I think in the end I ended up switching Ninja for Yumeko, because then I was actually able to cycle my skills back, place the debuffs more frequently, and I also had the Hex debuff from Yumeko. So I had the Hex, I had the decrease attack, the provoke from Harima, the decrease speed, the stun, Lady Mikage or Jingwon, the weaken from Lady Mikage, decrease accuracy from Jingwon, and the decrease crit damage, block buffs, and block active skills. So these are the 10 debuffs. It's only like I don't have more than 10. That was basically it. The thing is, with Lady Mikage, at first I thought I can also use the sleep, but the reality is, once the champion gets damaged, the sleep gets missing, right? We wake them up basically, and then you end up killing the enemies with 9 debuffs instead of 10, so the sleep doesn't work. That's basically how I started this run, and to be honest, the waves are actually very intense. With Galathier on the first wave, I think there's a Siegfried on the second wave. So yeah, pretty juicy enemy waves, to be honest. But yeah, here you can see I'm stacking up the debuffs. Also, you know, the decreased attack from Harima is very inconsistent. Sometimes she places it on all of them, sometimes only on one, sometimes on 2 and 3. So yeah, I try to get as many A1s out with Harima as possible, so I have decreased attack all over the place. I try to place all the debuffs I can, reset my skills, and then I try to increase the debuff duration with Jing1 with his A2. There you go. And we increased all the debuff duration here. I placed almost all my debuffs, and now I don't know how many times I started counting the debuffs because it's so tricky. I really have to place everything I have. Also, I have to have the stun and the provoke at the same time on the enemies in order to complete this condition. And that was kind of like the worst part because when they get a turn and they lose the control debuffs, I have to cycle it back again. And they only can take so much damage. Harima doesn't hit, you know, she's not weak hitting. She's doing a lot of damage. And that's basically why I have to retry it so often. With Ninja, it was even worse because he was doing damage as well. And yeah, that's just how it went. But in the end, I got it done. That's basically how I did it. And yeah, it took me a lot of tries. On stage 20, we can't let any of our enemies use any active skills, and that means A2s and A3s. A1s are okay, passives are also okay. It's the A2s and the A3s that we can't let them use, and that means Yumeko is an absolute beast for this stage. She's probably a must-have to be able to complete this, and the reason why I'm saying this is because the last wave has this Orc Unity champion. It's all Orcs, and we have a Supreme Galax. So the thing is, you can't stunlock them. I mean, you can, but if you do that, Supreme Galax passive will kick in, and he will start using skills. So you kind of have to lock him out before he gets a turn, and you also have to lock out the Unity champion if you kill other champions because he's going to use one of his active skills, which are triggered if, I don't know, some of his orc allies are using a certain amount of HP. And then the condition fails, basically. That's just how this works. So I just try to lock them out and keep them controlled as much as possible. Lady Mikage is absolutely amazing for that. We also have a Marius on wave 2, which is kind of amazing. We have a Mesomel here. So yeah, the waves are pretty strong. With this team that I have here, I didn't really have a problem, but the thing is also these champions are one of the best champions out of the faction, and they have insane gear on. Like, when I say insane gear, I'm saying like the best, some of the best gear that I have on my account. My Yumeko is very fast, my Shuzen is very fast, my Lady Mikage is my main Hydra Chimera champion in my best Relentless gear. Ninja is in my best Merciless gear in terms of PvE Merciless. He's in a 6-piece Merciless, 2-piece Zeal set, and I have Harima in Lethal and Feral, which is how I use her in Arena. So she has also very solid gear. All these champions are they have all the masteries, they are booked, they have pretty good gear, and that's why this stage or these stages were very easy for me. All right, so there we go. The third wave, here you can see it. We have the Unity champion right there. He will always use one of his skills if you damage his allies by, I think, like 50% HP or something. if you try to place a stun with Lady Mikage, Supreme Galaxy passive will kick in. He will get turn meter and use one of his active skills. So the thing here really is to, or how I did it is to, turn meter boost with Shuzan, slow them down, lock him out with Yumeko. So even if Supreme Galaxy gets a turn here, he won't use his active skills because he can't. They are locked out. Then stun everyone. Supreme Galaxy gets a turn, but he will also only use the A1, which doesn't really do anything. And then I keep killing them one after each other. And I always try to keep the Unity champion locked out. That was kind of like the most important part because he's really, really annoying to deal with, especially when you are killing one of his allies. That would just mean that the condition will instantly fail. As you can see here, that's like one of the failed runs where I stunned Supreme Galaxy, but I didn't lock him out, so he was using his active skill. Here you can actually see the run where I completed the condition, the stage with 3 stars. So I decrease the turn meter, I lock him out, I stunned him. Supreme Galaxy gets a turn, but he uses his A1. Ninja was kind of low with the HP, but it doesn't really matter as long as he doesn't die. Everything is cool. And now I can just keep or start killing them without a problem. And yeah, that's basically how this all went down. And yeah, in the end, if you figure out how to do it, if you have the right champions, this seems very easy. Also, if you have, your champions geared very well, that's when Faction Wars hard becomes easy. But I also have to say, again, these champions have some of my best gear on my account. And there we go. After 5 minutes and 40 seconds, I completed this run with 3 stars, and then we were moving on to the boss. So the boss fight was kind of underwhelming. I don't know. It just feels like some factions are so much easier to do than other ones because we have these, ninjas and Lady Mikages in those factions that are so strong, so good for, this role to keep the waves locked out and to deal damage. Ninja can do damage and he can control them as well with the freeze. So yeah, it was just super easy compared to other factions. But yeah, as I said, very strong waves. If you don't have the right champions, it can be really hard. Without Mikage, I don't know, it will be so annoying. You have Hegemon here. You have the Knights Revenant Unity champion here. We had Commodus on the first wave, and Korra and Narcissus. It's I don't want to say it's easy, but if you have those champions, like if you have Lady Mikage, it's just easier than the other ones. It's just how it is. Then once we clean up the second wave, I just stun locked them and dealt as much damage as possible. Then we come to the boss. Here's the key part. For me, I had to place the hex on the boss because he can place that pain link debuff on one of your champions, and that can cause one of your champions to die instantly if you hit the boss. For me to win this fight, I had to reflect that pain link. So either way, you kind of have to cleanse it off, the pain link, or you have to reflect it on the boss, or get it somehow off your champions. That's kind of like the one thing you have to do. And then also he will place a reflect damage on him, on the boss, and that's something you need to strip as well. Otherwise, your champions will kill themselves, and then the run will fail. But luckily, the boss just placed the pain link on himself because of Yumeko's hex. And that was kind of like very lucky for me, I guess. I basically completed this in the first run. So here you can see He tried to place the pain link on Ninja, but it reflected on him. And the reflect damage, I need to get rid of that ASAP before one of my nukers takes a turn. And that's why I swapped the forms with Mikage and then stripped it down. Got an extra turn. You can decrease the turn meter with the A1 in the second form with Lady Mikage, which is kind of nice. And yeah, I'm only at turn count 82. So I have plenty of time to, get this job done. But here you go, Ninja absolutely smacking, deleting the boss, basically. Yeah, so here we go, 4.5 million damage almost with Ninja, 1.3 with Harima, and yeah, that's how the story went. So yeah, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. You can also join the Discord. I will put the link in the description below. You can find it there. Just join, say hi. If you have any questions, I'm always trying to help. I'm always trying to answer as soon as possible. I completed the whole Shadowkin factions conditions. It was really no challenge compared to the other factions. Now I need to try to progress in Bannerlord, but that's something I'm gonna probably delay a little bit because I don't think I can do this stage 15 without some serious regearing, as the waves are really getting stronger here after the second boss. That's where, things are really getting harder and harder, and the waves are getting stronger. So yeah, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed, please subscribe to the channel. Also hit the thumbs up. It really helps me, and see you in the next one.